Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of VTC Writers Room here at Beyond the Canon. I'm just going to wait for Saru to join us and then we can start with this episode, which we are just so damn excited about, with Idris Goodwin, who will be joining us as our guest today. Hope everyone's doing well. I hope people in London are bearing with the heat. I am just hanging on in here waiting for people to join. I hope everyone can hear me okay. Seeing if I see. Hi Idris. Looking forward to bringing you in. I'm going to just have a quick chat with Saru first, and then we'll bring you in, Idris. But very, very excited to have you part of VTC Writers Room. I'm just going to wait here just to see, just wait for a few other people to join. And then we can make a start. Okay, fantastic. Okay, let's just see what's going on. I hope, can you hear me okay? Sometimes I haven't got my headphones with me today. I can grab them if I need to. Okay, fantastic. It's a little bit slow, this Instagram today. I don't know, I think that maybe connection wise it's been a little bit off where I am, so I'm really hoping that it holds out. Thank you so much. Thank you. Hi Christine. And then we have Saru as well. Fantastic. Connect to Saru first and foremost. For those who don't know, my name is Samelia. I'm the founder and CEO at Beyond the Canon. Hello Saru.
Hey Sim. How are you?
How are you?
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's been a day, and it's only it's only 12 o'clock my end. But I've been zooming it out, and it's crazy. It feels like no matter how early I wake up, it's still never enough time. Right?
Exactly. And
I was like 7 o'clock. Oh my God, it's 12 o'clock already.
Exactly that, man. I completely hear you. I completely hear you. It's so crazy how quick time just whooshes by and your day is like just there.
Right?
Yeah, very, very true. But it's Wednesday.
It's Wednesday, my friend.
Wednesdays. I absolutely love our writers' room, and we are back with a brand new, fresh one, which is amazing. We don't have many episodes to go, Sim.
I know.
We don't.
I know.
Two more episodes, and then we are taking a bit of a break, which is gonna be.
It is, and I think that we have to remind people why we did this to begin with. This came out of Saru and I, experiencing COVID-19 like the rest of the world. And saying how can we give back? What ways can we give back? Well, this is my gorgeous husband now delivering tea. Thank you, hubby. We're at home. This is home life. And because I haven't stopped.
Hello, gorgeous husband. So much.
Because I haven't stopped, I was like, please can you make me a cup of tea? I haven't eaten anything yet, so I was like, make me a cup of tea and I'll be all right. But yeah, just in terms of the necessity of now, and I'm hoping that Idris will talk to this too, but in terms of like what our responsibility is at this time. And I felt, you know, we felt that we wanted to do something, you know, to give back. And the ways that we can give back, our pockets might not be as deep as some people in the world, but the way
No,
we
not
can
at
give back
all.
is by sharing resource, you know, and I think resource is wealth, you know, and so for us to have access that we have and the relationships that we have with publishing houses, and also the recognition that our legacy belongs to us, it should be with us, and we need to own our legacy in order to preserve our legacy, right? So yeah, do you want to talk to that as well, Saru? Like why and how we got started and me calling
No,
you up?
it was all of those things. It was all of those things. I mean, obviously, Sim and I at Beyond the Canon, we work with lots of drama schools, and we sort of kind of felt that we needed to do something just to kind of show solidarity to the students, to say we see you, we hear you. There's so much more that is still available to you, even though the
Yeah,
education had been disrupted. They weren't able to attend classes, and just their curriculums weren't really doing for them what they could have done because of the whole epidemic thing. So we wanted to kind of provide something for them so that, you know, they could also just learn a little bit more whilst they were on whatever it is that we would call this time. Learn a bit
yeah,
more, also just connect them to the writers. We wanted to kind
yeah,
of give them an opportunity to engage with these writers, engage with these works, and also just build their libraries, their home libraries. Take the ownership that we have of these works and make it actual ownership, as in
yeah,
an actual playtext that is in my house that I can cherish and love, and stories that I can pass on. And that's generally what we wanted to do. And we were so lucky. We were so lucky that Playwrights Canada Press and Bloomsbury were so generous with their donations, which was really great. And also, they gave us discount codes that we could pass forward to other people so that they could purchase more play texts. Whilst we're on that, it is BTC 2020 at the checkout on Bloomsbury or Auburn Books, and it will give you 35% off hard copies and 40% off electronic versions. Basically, check out our website and you will get more information on that. But yeah, we did this for you guys, and it's been such a pleasure as well just to kind of engage with you on this weekly check-in. I know personally, I don't know about you, Sim, but I've been feeling kind of like it kind of rounds off my week in a nice kind of way, you know, to say there's a Wednesday
yeah,
that I do exactly this, and we just celebrate who we are, what legacies we have, and all of that just in this beautiful, wonderful hour that we have together. I love
yeah.
it.
Definitely, definitely. And I think that, like, you know, to Saru's point about meeting writers, you know, we may or may not have heard of some of the writers that we have on our show. And that's the main point, you know, is to create more visibility, to champion the writers that we have in our communities, and also to ask the question that, you know, I always try to set provocations really for myself. And the provocation is always you know, different depending on the project that I'm working on. But for this one, I had to go back to my childhood and say, you know, what were the plays that I wish I would have read before I entered into the industry? And that's the question, that's the provocation that we're giving all of the BTC writers that join us, you know, in our writers' room, to say, you know, what are they? What do you wish? What would have helped to make you feel empowered, you know, to make you feel a part of the industry that you're about to embark into? And so I think that, you know, it's been really interesting. And again, do visit our website because Saru is just amazing. And she's been basically documenting all of the responses from the guests that we've had on the show, as well as documenting the play giveaways as well. So for those people who want to take advantage of the discount code, the BTC 2020 discount code that we have with Bloomsbury and Oberon Books, to take advantage of those things. But do visit our website. It's www.beyondthecanon.com. So that's something so this is where it came about. There will be a second season, and we're hoping that there will be a third season.
Yes.
You know, and so but we just need a bit of a break. We're trying to do a little fundraising as well because, as you may or may not know, we are not getting any money for this, and also we want to be in a position where we can offer sort of further opportunities for any writer that appears on our BTC Writers Room. So we're in the process of doing the sort of the behind the scenes sort of part of the work, as well as connecting with like Saru said, drama schools, but beyond drama schools, just schools in general.
Yeah.
And also community groups, so that we can also share resources to those organizations. If you are in fact a member of those organizations, do get in contact with us, because we're cooking something up in the background at the moment. We're also a part of diversifying curriculum and that work, and I will share with you updates. As you can imagine, these are sort of ongoing conversations, and they're not new. However, we are making some forms of progress, and we will share with you what's happening as we get more confirmed dates and confirmed actions.
Yes.
So that being said, Saru, is there anything else that we should discuss before we bring on our guest?
No, let's get to it. Let's talk Idris Goodwin. Let's talk all things Idris Goodwin today. Today we've got Idris Goodwin as our very extra special guest, which is incredible. And honestly, we always appreciate the writers for taking the time to have these conversations with us. So we're very privileged that they are here so that we can have these conversations. And also we have our playtext giveaway today.
And what is it? I have to play along. Come on.
We have our playtext giveaway today. Today, it's Fairview.
Yeah, we have Fairview, and we also have One Night in Miami. So this is the bundle that you can get your hands on. So definitely, as we're talking, do comment below if you want to win a chance to get your hands on this bundle. So it's you win two. You win, basically, this is the bundle. So it's Fairview, and it's also One Night in Miami. So if you are interested, if you want to win this, obviously we want to prioritize those that are in education right now, or those on any artistic courses, or if you run a course of any kind with students, with young people, then please let us know, comment below for your chance to win this amazing giveaway.
Yes, and also just to say, everybody who's been tagging us for the Katori Hall giveaway, we see you. You're not making it easy, but we do see you. I'm going to keep it running until the end of the week. So if anybody else wants to, if you want to give other people a chance as well, tell them that Beyond the Canon is giving away Plays One by Katori Hall. And if you just tag us on any of our socials, we will definitely really pick a winner and we'll send it out. So we will be announcing on Friday, so really look out for that, because that is a special anthology, which I'm really excited for somebody to get.
Fantastic. All right then, Saru, I'm going to say goodbye to you, and I'm going to bring in Idris. So see you later on, lovely.
See you later. Goodbye, guys.
All right, take care. Okay, so now I'm going to just invite Idris to join. Without any further ado. Hello. Oh, I've got like a hello, Saru. Saru's just left us. I'm sorry. Hello, Idris. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you just fine. How you doing? Can you see me?
I can see you. I can see you. Oh, now I can't.
Okay. No, I can't see myself. That's the weird thing. So if you tell me that you can in fact see me, then I'm not going to worry.
Yeah, I can see you. You're very, very clear. How are you?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you so much for joining us on BTC. We really, really appreciate it. And it's great to interact with you. We've never met. We've never met before.
That's not true. We sort of like passed each other at a conference in Miami. I saw Reggie. Like I spotted Reggie, and you were with him, and I said, "What up?" real quick. But I had heard your name. I knew of you from the correspondences, the emails, and things like that. And so I was like, "What up?" Yeah. But anyway, now we're like having a real conversation.
Right. Exactly. This is like the real conversation. Apologies. Yeah, in Miami for the TCG conference.
That's right.
Fantastic. Oh my God. And I'm sure we'd all be there again if it wasn't for, you know, what we're faced with today. But we
Yeah, no, it's real.
rural. I mean, like, you know, the adapting to everything just doesn't stop. It's just a continuous
Hmm.
thing and pivoting, you know, to what's
Yeah.
going on and just, you know, and responding, but also giving yourself. I was talking to somebody the other day and I was like, giving yourself to not always being in a reactionary mode is really important as well, you know,
Yes, yes, yes.
about, you know, how you feel about trying to get that balance, especially when you've been about the work. You know what I mean? Like we have to remind
Yeah.
ourselves this isn't new to us. Like the idea
Thank
that
you.
racism exists in our in our world is not like that. Oh,
Thank you. I just had this conversation this morning with somebody that this is a marathon. This is a lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? Like this is a set of values, and the biggest thing that I've been thinking about is like not getting caught up in rules or old ways of doing business. And I've just been really reflective about like what are my values, and I'm just going to lead from my values. I'm going to make decisions based on values and not on any other kind of playbook. You know what I'm saying? So that's the work that I've been doing. It's just a lot of reflection, and I really just take each day as it is, and I try. And honestly, like I plan for the present. I don't plan for the future as much. I plan for the present.
and maybe that's what this time is about as well, right? Because I am a bit of a strategist, as you probably know. Like I'm always like, like next year and then 2 years from now, you know,
Yeah,
and building those strategies. But I think you're right. I think there's something about just in the being in the moment and allowing
yeah,
yourself to sit and get comfortable with living in the moment and living it
yeah.
moment by moment. And
Real
but
quick though, I want to say though, just to your point, like I think strategy is important, but I think
yeah,
strategizing. I think about like chess, right? Like you employ multiple strategies, right? Like boom, like if I do this move, this person might do this move, this move, and I'll do this, and then they don't do that. And you're like, okay, all right, cool, I'm gonna do this over here, you know. So I think I'm with you on that. I think strategy is critical, and I think yeah, you look beyond, but then you have to always know that like at any point all that can fall apart.
there you go. And you know,
Yeah,
it's so funny because I think that the way that I've interpreted that is Reggie's got chess moves. I'm always okay,
that's
so I'm
right.
always the analogy of chess, and I'm not even the greatest player, and that's the joke.
Right.
But anyway,
Yeah.
it's like chess, Reg. It's like chess. And he looks at me and he's like, "You don't even really play chess, Sim." But anyway, but the way I see it is, you know, I'm building models, and
Yeah.
it's about adaptable models. It's about
That,
models,
yes, I love that.
you know what I mean, like that are flexible, that like you
Yeah.
said, that is able to kind of maneuver and still continue, you know. And I think that that's where what you was talking about in terms of your values and really honing into what your values are in order to stay on track.
Yeah. Big facts. Yep. Exactly. I wrote that down too. Adaptable models. I like that.
Yeah. So we've just jumped in, and I'm always guilty of that. I'm always forgetting to tell people my name. I'm always forgetting to do all of the, you know, the introductory bits because I'm just like, let's get to the meat.
Jumping
Let's get
in. That's right.
to the inspiration. Do you know what I mean? But for those who don't have interest, and I should tell people a little bit about you, or maybe you should tell people about you. Maybe it's
I
better
mean,
coming from you, right? So, just, you know, you're a playwright,
hmm
um, great beat poet. You know, we've got your book in the house. Just give you you can maybe talk to that at some point. And director of the Colorado Springs Fine Arts Center.
hmm
Um, which is absolutely amazing. I mean, we'll talk about your plays. You can probably refer to your plays so people can get familiar with your work. But before we actually begin talking about your plays, let's talk about hip hop.
Please. Let's
Now,
go.
let's talk about hip hop, right?
Yeah.
So you are a long time hip hop fan, and you also teach hip hop too. So
Yes.
I'm going to put you on the spot right now.
Yes.
What are your five top MCs? Like, what are the
Sure.
who should we be listening to? Who should we have? We're doing plays and we're ensuring that people have the right plays in their home
Mm-hmm.
library. What would you
Mm-hmm.
say about the top 5 MCs?
Top 5 essentials. Okay, all right. This is good. This is good. So here's what I'm gonna do because I'm like hardcore with this. I'm like all day, all night with this. So I have like multiple top 5. So as far as like to what I feel like you were asking, which is like top 5 essentials, like just top 5 must have hip hop albums in the crates. You have to have Fear of a Black Planet by Public Enemy. Because that album is Public Enemy is one of the most balanced hip hop groups of all time in terms of the sonics, the beats, Chuck's voice, Flavor's voice, you know, the cuts from Terminator X, the whole production. It is one of the greatest produced hip hop albums of all time, and very much an album about this moment right now. I feel like Fear of a Black Planet is what's happening right now. So that's 1. 2 is, you know, Malik B of the Roots crew just passed suddenly. Rest in power, Malik B. So I'm going to go with their second album, Illadelph Half-Life, The Roots, Illadelph Half-Life, which I think is some of Malik B's best rhymes on there. And, of course, The Great Black Thought, you know, who is on my top 5 MCs list. Metal Face Doom, MF Doom, his album Mad Villain, collaboration with Madlib. I mean, it just caught that. You know, I really love Lauryn Hill, Miseducation Lauryn Hill, and I'm gonna cheat a little bit and say Fuji's The Score and Lauryn Hill, Miseducation Lauryn Hill, 2-pack double album. You know, that one. And then 5, I gotta go with Ready to Die. I gotta go
together. Just
that's the thing about top 5 Dead or Alive. You can bend the rules a little bit. You can bend the rules. So and then I gotta go Ready to Die, Notorious B.I.G. because that was an important album for me as a teenager. That album was my sort of bridge from being a teenager into a adult. That was my soundtrack. So that's my 5.
you heard it here, guys. Okay, Saru, I hope you've written them all down, and maybe Saru's probably just like somewhere in their apartment just going, oh my god, I hope I got all of those. But we might have to circle back with you so we got all those names so Saru can have them, we can share them, because I'm sure people are gonna wanna. You don't know, you definitely have to have those. You know, I was gonna say, but who has a CD rack anymore than your CD rack?
Put it in your. Well, can I ask a real quick question? And it's for you and perhaps those in the chat too, because I feel like, you know, I have an obvious United States of America bias. So I'm wondering though, like, who are the top 5 UK hip hop artists that I should be hip to? Because my knowledge of UK hip hop is very spotty. Like I know like, oh, this artist and that artist, but I'm not hip to the trajectory. So I would love recommendations on how to beef up my UK hip hop knowledge.
Okay, put in the comments below. I must admit that I was very influenced by American hip hop work.
I mean, you know, it's very good stuff.
And some of it would be sort of, I guess, yeah. I'm going to leave it in the comments below because I think that we can get into like Reggie's put Wiley down. I wouldn't necessarily call it hip hop.
Oh, really?
We're going to get into like a little merger, like a little sort of blurring of lines, really, you know. And I think that's probably what will happen. Yeah, Stormzy. Okay, just ask Reggie.
Yeah, I know Stormzy. I like Stormzy.
Yeah, Stormzy's great, man. Stormzy's great. But yeah, I was like definitely like an American, you know, fan of just like, you know, I had Right On magazines, let me put it that way. You know.
Yes, I love that. Well, so I do remember, I mean, speaking of Public Enemy, I mean, I remember listening to Takes a Nation of Villains to Hold Us Back, and the first thing you hear on there is Flavor Flav say, "Base for your face, London," and you hear this crowd, and I just remember being a kid in my room in Michigan, hearing that and being like, wow, they're in London. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you would expect Base for Your Face, Brooklyn, Base for Your Face, Harlem, Base for Your Face, LA. They start the album by saying, this is how big this is, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is how big this is. So I love these kinds of conversations about like what the experience was while I was in Michigan reading Right On magazine. And, you know, where are you from? Where are you from exactly?
So I'm from London. My mom's from, my dad's from Trinidad.
That's
And
what's up.
yeah, I'm currently, obviously, as you know, I'm in Chicago right now with my hubby. But yeah, people that are putting down like suggestions. I don't know if you're seeing this. It just, can you see the comments?
I can see some
So
of them. Yeah.
me P, people are saying
Oh, okay.
Black Twang,
Mm.
going French, NTM. I've never heard of that. NTM. Okay, something to check out.
All right. Yeah. See, you heard it here
You lot
first.
will.
Feeding, feeding.
There you go. You started something now. Okay, keep your suggestions coming for Idris.
Please, no,
Yeah,
please, please, please.
like such a full like Spotify playlist now off the back of BTC Writers Room. Who would have thought?
Yep.
um, yeah, Wretch 32. Yeah, definitely. So let's move on. Just in terms of like how and why. I guess has like hip hop. Why it? How and why hip hop? And what impact does that have on your art?
Yeah, that's a great question. As a black kid growing up in the 80s, it was unavoidable. Like, you know what I mean? Like it was like I was born in 77. Rapper's Delight drops in 79. The message comes out in 81, 82. I want to say Grandmaster Flash and Melly Mel with the message. Run DMC comes along in like 85, 86. Public Enemy 88. You know, it's like as the culture is progressing and getting better and better and better, music and the albums are getting better and better and better. I'm growing up and getting better and better and better. And my affinity, my love of creativity, art, writing is also starting to bloom. And I hear Big Daddy Kane's album Long Live the Kane, and I hear his mastery of language, his mastery of flow and poetics and all of that. And I'm like 11, and I'm mesmerized by the magic this man is making with words. And it was over. It was a wrap. Like I think I was put here on earth and anointed by the ancestors to be a griot, but I happened to be a griot who came up in the era of hip hop, and so there was no question that that was what I was going to practice because hip hop is also a music that is ancestral music as well. So and I think what I love, I also have a music podcast with my homeboy Kevin Cole called Same Old New School, and we talk about hip hop every week. And just this last episode, we talked about Beyonce's album, and love music is that like her attempting to really make music that sort of represents the whole diaspora. So you hear Caribbean influence, you hear different regional African sounds, you hear, hip hop, you hear trap, you hear all of this stuff. And so anyway, I'm getting off away from your question, but so hip hop to me is the foundational platform of my creativity as a whole. And so when I got into theater and got into playwriting, I was like, there are things that are really special about this other world that I come from that I think this field would appreciate and needs, right? Because I was also doing hip hop music. I was also making, writing rhymes, all these things. So I was like, what did I learn as a rapper? What did I learn as a hip hop album maker? How do I bring that to the world of drama, right? And so then we get the breakbeat plays, and I've been off and running ever since. But for me, it's that's been the emphasis.
So I didn't know you was a rapper. You said you were you rapping as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. I put out albums. I was on some indie labels in Chicago when I was living in Chicago. I was in some groups and doing things. And yeah, shout out Aloe and Shadow and shout out the Note and such, Rainy. And those are where I learned where I really learned. That's where I really went to school. But yeah, I have an album called Breakbeat Poems that you can get on Spotify. I have an album called Rhyming While Black that you can get on Bandcamp. I got some recordings floating out in the world. I haven't been doing it as much as my life has changed, and I have kids, and I've been doing just way more theater work and stepping into sort of the arts and leadership space. And so I just unfortunately just don't have the same time. But I know that at some point in my life you're gonna hear like 70-year-old me like on the mic, like, hey, let me tell you something about this.
It never leaves you. Yeah, it's
It
just a
never
part.
leaves you. That's right.
Yeah, right.
That's right.
That's right. And so what about like, we were talking about just like, where we are in the world today. you know,
Yeah.
and in terms of like what we're faced with.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't have to keep on mentioning it, but you know, sort of uprising,
Yeah.
in terms of the pandemic,
Yeah.
etc. But is there anything that excites you about the moment that we're living in right now?
Yeah. I
As
mean, I think, yeah, sorry to cut you off. I'm excited by the fact that I feel that we are so connected. I feel like the whole world is having like one or two conversations right now. I
right,
feel like it's good that everything is finally out on the table and undeniable. I think it is not an accident that we are probably the most connected that we've ever been as a species ever in history. And so you know, if we had this technology in the time of Emmett Till, right, in the time of the civil rights movement, if we had this in the time of antebellum slavery, the world would be different, right? It's because it's harder to obscure the truth now, and evidence is there. And not only can we communicate, we can also access information and history. You know, so you can't front. And so yeah, this convergence of technology, of history, of discourse is thrilling to me. Um, and I think that, you know, theater has been finally has been brought to its knees. The industry, not the practice. The practice is fine. The practice is going to do what it do. But the industry and those barriers and those biases that have kept so many people like us specifically, but also lots of artists of different colors and cultures and ethnicities and nationalities and ability, that's over. Like that's over. You can't do that anymore. So the revolution that's happening, the cultural revolution that's happening, the economic revolution that's going to come next, is really thrilling. So yeah, that's kind of the upside, I guess. The silver lining if there is one. What do you think?
yeah, definitely.
You feel the same way?
You know what? I do. I mean, I think that I love when you speak about the cultural sort of revolution, you know, that we are embarking on right now. I think people are using their agency in a way that for me is so refreshing and so thrilling to see. And I think that now really is about the visionaries. You know, who are the true visionaries?
Yeah,
Uh,
fact.
and positioning and making sure that we sort of gather behind them and we champion them,
Yes,
making sure that we don't, you know, that organizations are also held to account. You know, I mean, I'm loving you know, just the demands that people are making now, you know, and I hope that that also bleeds into setting our own terms. And I always talk about setting our own terms and being sure about what those terms are, what our negotiables are, what our non-negotiables are,
yes,
and being
yes,
really clear about what they are. And equally, I would hope that people become more inquisitive about things that go beyond production. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
That are about systems that are in place and sort of the innovation of systems, you know what I mean? And that how we can start to build infrastructure, you know, restructure, you know, the industry that we live in so that it
That's
is
right.
more equitable, you
That's
know,
right.
and
That's right. By design, yeah.
by design.
Right.
No, so you know, oh my god, I feel like me and you could talk for hours, Idris, man. Like I feel like I'm loving this. I can't wait to the day that we can actually probably be in the same space where we
Yeah.
can do this and we can create, you know, not sort of like I'm gonna say the only sort of version I can come up with is like red table talks, but we can kind of create our
Yeah.
own table. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Like our
Yeah. Black
table.
table talks.
Black table talks, you know, and have more of a conversation around it because I feel like there's so much there that we could really deep dive into, you
Yeah.
know, with
Absolutely. Yeah.
like what our aspirations are
Right.
for the future, you know, and what this time really mean to
Yeah.
us and what conversations that we should be having just within our own communities, you
Big facts.
know.
Yeah. That's where we're at.
This is
Yeah,
it.
that's where we're at. That's where we're at. That's 100% the discourse I've been finding amongst, particularly, specifically among Black artists, but certainly beyond that as well. But yeah, we're talking about, a lot of us have been given great opportunities to represent in this way and that way, but I think we're after something to create for people after us. We're like, how do we leverage the cachet that we have to make things
Exactly.
sustainable for the future? Like to use your word, scaffold. What's the infrastructure for that? And with my own organization, the Colorado Springs Colorado College. I mean, we're it's a 100-year-old kind of legacy organization that just merged with the college, and so a lot of the conversations we're having are about the future and the next era and the next 100 years, and the college has an anti-racism commitment, right? And so that extends to us, and we're like, yeah, how do we unpack the racism that's inherent to some of the practices of the contemporary art world, the contemporary theater world, and education? And how do we do that and make this more equitable forever? Like, you couldn't even try, even if you were trying to, be inequitable or racist. Like, you couldn't do it, because it's so well scaffolded.
And I think that's the thing. And I, I don't know about you, but my patience is dried up. You know what I mean? Like, I think that, I just think that,
yeah.
If you're ready to have those conversations that are action driven, that means that you have to do something, then don't waste my time. Don't waste my time. And also know what questions that you need to answer. You know what I mean? That the questions that you need to find the answers for. And then there's ways that we can work together. Do you know what I mean? But figure that out first. You do your homework first, and then we'll meet. And then we can have a conversation.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. Yeah, there's got to be some basic platform that we all stand on. Like, just like.
That's the truth. So, talking about your platform, the platform that you carve out, for yourself and others, what would you say, like, first of all, talking about your own work, how would you describe your work? How would you describe, your writing, your expression of art? Like, what is the main driving force behind your work?
So, I would say the primary categories, I guess you could say, is that, I have these breakbeat plays, which are a series of plays. The first one is called How We Got On, and that's like a coming-of-age story about these kids in the Midwest. It's very much based on my own growing up in the Midwest of America, and just about this moment when hip-hop came on the MTV Raps and suddenly became accessible to all parts of the world, and just, how did it line itself with the small town dreams of these Black and brown kids. And so that's the first one. The second one is called The Realness, which is like a romantic story about authenticity. So it's really about the politics of hip hop in terms of, where it comes from, its roots in communities and real struggle, and then the high level of commercialization of that struggle, but via the prism of the boy meets girl story. And then the third one, which right on time, Bianca McCann, what up, Hype Man, is a play about an interracial hip hop group that is like kind of right on the precipice of sort of going to the next level, and then police shooting of an unarmed Black teenager forces them to have tough conversations about what their obligations are as hip hop artists. And so that play is running right now in distance and virtual, in a distance and virtual production in Aurora. That's going to be so those are those plays, and then and then I have other plays like This Is Modern Art, co-written with my friend Kevin Koval, which is about graffiti artists in Chicago and questions about art and who it belongs to. And then I have a trajectory of these plays about hip hop and contemporary urban culture and questions of all the questions that come with that. And then I have a whole other trajectory of historically based plays. So I have a play called The Raid, which is about John Brown and Frederick Douglass and their relationship, and John Brown's failed raid on Harper's Ferry. I have a brand new thing that I'm working on now. It's like kind of a virtual play called A Tribe Called Tubman, and it's basically kind of a meditation conversation. You know, Harriet Tubman speaking to this generation right now in 2020 about how to get free, and how that work that she's doing.
Is that linked to the poem at all? Is that linked to the poem that's in your publications library?
No, I just be writing about it. This is like the fourth thing I'm writing in the voice of Harriet Tubman. I just be writing. I love me some Harriet Tubman. I actually think it's funny. Like I think this is so. I think when I think about this moment, I think about her all the time, and I actually think that Harriet Tubman is actually, to me, the true figure that represents who America is.
Yeah.
Because she to me is the you know what I mean? I don't know how to say it, but to me she's like like I think that's who should be on Mount Rushmore. I mean, there should definitely be many Native American faces on Mount Rushmore, and there should also be here as well. You know what I mean? So anyway, so I read a lot about history because I think time is a concept, and I think history is the present. And so I read a lot about sort of reviving or resuscitating history. And then I have a lot of plays that I write for younger audiences, what I call new audiences or audiences of tomorrow. So, and this Corner Catcher's Clay is probably my most produced, and it's about the young life of Muhammad Ali before he became Muhammad Ali. Just growing up in Louisville, and because he started boxing at 12 after somebody stole his bike. And it was a police officer, it was a white police officer who first brought it to the boxing gym. And that was a fact that didn't mean much to me when I started writing the play, but now for contemporary audiences has taken on a whole new relevance and resonance, because he comes to this white officer distraught and upset and angry. And this officer says, well, here, I'm going to bring you to a space that will help you develop what's in you. And so for me, it's a meditation on like, this officer existed in the time of Jim Crow. So what has changed? Like, where are the officers that were like that? You know what I mean? That were like that, So, yeah. So that's kind of like what my work for the theater, kind of looks like, feels like. And these days, I'm just doing a lot of writing more for this space, for the digital space, virtual space, and I'm enjoying it. It's fun. It's a different challenge, but it don't stop to me. And I'm just thrilled that we can have reach. So the work that, Black Glass, Black Words is doing with this series, I love, because y'all were one of the first people to hit me up like, okay, so we're going to do it this way now. And we weren't tripping. It wasn't like, it was like, let's go. Let's go.
Yeah, and it was amazing to have your piece of art of the bush bit when we it was the first time.
Yeah, that was huge for me.
That was amazing. It was the first time that we brought American plays and British plays, to create a Black Lives, Black Words event, because before that I was like, Reg, I'll do this in London. He was doing it in the US. And again, we were working with local writers, working with sort of London, sort of UK based writers, for the one that we did 2 previous ones at the Bush. So it was amazing just to go, actually, let's do a mashup, man. Let's bring in different voices, and have them, all under the roof, under the same roof. So that was amazing. It was incredible to have your piece part.
No, it was cool for me because I got to be like, well, I'm international now. I said I'm doing my work over in the UK, so it ain't nothing. I was this close to coming, so I was really trying to find a way to go. Yeah, I couldn't go for just scheduling, but I was like, because at the time I was a professor, I was a college professor, and so like you got research accounts and you can get money to travel, and so I was like, I almost worked it out. My wife and I were going to come together, and it just didn't work out. But
Oh, that is so gutting. Oh my goodness. Can anyone else hear feedback? I think I can hear a bit of feedback, but can you hear? I just want to make sure, because what I can do is if you give me just sorry to be a pain, I'm going to just quickly just get my headphones just to see if it.
Sure. Oh, maybe I'll get some headphones too.
Sorry, guys. Okay, hopefully this will help. Just give me 1 second. I want
Take your
to.
time. Gotta get the tech right.
Oh my God, I've got to say, I am loving this conversation that we're having right now, Idris. I really
Oh,
am.
good.
This is fantastic. And so, God, there's so many other questions I want to ask you. We're just
Yeah,
not going to
yeah.
have enough time. Do you know what I mean? But again, if anyone's tuned in, please do. If you've got a question for Idris, if you pop it in the comments below, I will ask it, you know, because we've got like so many questions. We're not going to get through all of them, but I would love to hear from anyone that's tuning in at the moment. I guess there's a question around um, publication, really,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's an important one, just in terms of like the plays that you write are so important, and what's so brilliant about them is that the plays and poetry that you write is that actually they cater for so many different audiences in terms of age, right? And I just wonder, just in terms of what your relationship's been with publishers and
Mm.
getting your work published.
Yeah, yeah. So shout out PlayScripts.
Yeah,
PlayScripts.com has been published a lot of my work, or made it available for licensing. Also shout out Haymarket Books, which has put out a few of my poetry books, but also did a publication of This Is Modern Art, the play I wrote with Kevin Koval about graffiti. And to be honest, a lot of those came through just doing the work, just doing the work. And, I think it was through my current literary agent got me the arrangement with PlayScripts for my licensing work, for licensing my theater work. But it just came through just doing plays, and you get one that kind of hits, and the licensors kind of come through. Similarly with Haymarket, that was through relationships I had in Chicago and the poetry scene and all of that. And Kevin and others started the Breakbeat Poets publishing series through Haymarket Books, and because I was affiliated with that community. So I guess for me, I've never gone through the route of like, I'm going to send my query letter and I'm going to get a book. It's always been through community. And even like yourselves, like you all do publications as well, and are very cognizant that piece of it is very important. And so, again, it was Reggie, just knowing Reggie from the Chicago days and the Chicago scene and all that. And so that's how I've gone about it, is just through doing the work and through my relationships and through, I'm very passionate. I like to be a part of different communities, like, and everybody's different, like for some people it is that more traditional route of a great idea. They get an agent, that agent sells it to a publisher. That's never quite worked for me. It's been more so through just like my journey in all these different spaces. But I'll be honest, I mean, nowadays too, I don't know, there's something about the accessibility and the
yeah,
freedom that people have to publish things themselves, like, I mean, you can reach the world, that's thrilling, right? And it gets into promotions and all of that, but I think there's ways to even navigate that independently too. So
yeah,
I believe in just the power of the universe and the power of the spirits, and you just can't, sometimes you gotta just follow the energy that's sort of like intuitive to you, and everything will sort of work itself out. And speaking things into existence is real too, you know
yeah,
um just saying it, like, I really want to get published, and just being
yeah,
in that mindset, and just because all these things I think are always in front of you and around you and available to you, and but we don't say it. We just sort of wait passively. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's that I'm a bit of a bit hippy dippy in that regard sometimes when it
No,
comes
I'm
to
with
these
you on
things.
that.
But
I'm
yeah,
with you on that. In terms of speaking, put it out there to the universe and
got
it will
to.
manifest. But I think it's
Yeah,
also around accessibility that you speak of in terms
right.
of like having the being able for your work to be accessible. And also for us as a community, that it's our responsibility to access those things. So if you
Yeah,
don't know about PlayScript, .com, like definitely go on there. There's so much work that's on there. I think there
yeah.
probably still needs probably a bit more publicity around it. I think especially in the UK.
Oh yeah,
Um,
interesting.
but
Who's the
I
big
think
dog? Who's the
that
big dog in the UK as far as like play licensing? Is it Sam French? Does Sam French get it in?
you
I
know
guess they're
what?
Concord now.
There's quite a lot. I mean, Bloomsbury. I've worked with Bloomsbury
Yeah.
a few times to be honest with you, and I
Okay.
really enjoy working with Bloomsbury. There's Nick Hearn. Nick Hearn publishers are really great
Mm.
as well. And I really base it on not only the work that they publish, but the relationship, because I've had to do a bit of the back work in terms of
Yeah.
seeking copyright permissions. You
Gotcha.
know who's going to understand the reason why you're putting together, for instance, a monologue book for Black actors, you know what I mean? And how they respond to your messages.
Yeah.
I always look at it like Playwrights Canada Press have just been absolutely amazing. And there's some that just respond so quickly, and there's others that are like, they take their time, you get passed around from one person to the other,
Right.
and it just feels a little bit disorganized. But I would say that, Nick Hearn's been, I mean, there's obviously a few more, but Nick Hearn really stands out to me. I've really enjoyed our interactions with Nick Hearn. I hope to work with them on this, and obviously Samuel French. I'm so happy it was saved because that's such an
Mm.
important bookstore in the UK. So when it was threats of it not
Mm.
having to close down, when it was threats of it closing down, I think that was like, for me, it was like, no, we have to save it in
Yeah.
some way. I
Yeah.
think the same with
Yeah.
the bookshop in New York,
Yep. Yep.
the drama bookshop,
The
right? And I
John
remember
Bookshop.
going
Yep.
into, I love that
Yeah.
bookshop,
Yeah. I get
it
it. I
was
mean, I
really
get why
cool.
it's so legendary. Yeah. And where it's located
Yeah,
too, it's like, New York and downtown New York has changed so
yeah,
drastically that
yeah,
it sticks out. I mean, it's just next to like financial buildings, and
yeah. And
it's
then
just
you
so.
have
And then this
this
drama books.
bookshop. Yeah.
I know, but you got to preserve some of that, yo.
You do. Yeah,
For
you
sure.
do. You do. So, um, in terms of like your work, and we're talking about
Yeah,
champion, like who champions, who gets behind your work,
yeah.
who kind of like, you were going to talk about who you're inspired by later, but just in terms of like who have been like the key players in terms of being an advocate for you and also championing you forward in terms of like
Wow.
your artistic endeavors.
There's been so many people. I did not get
Mm,
here by myself for sure.
mm,
My obviously like, your family, can be either your harshest critics, your biggest motivators, or your biggest fans. But my family, have always been really supportive of my creativity and my growth. The city of Chicago as a whole would just embrace me and really pushed me and inspired me. Spaces that I just had the privilege to come up in, the sort of young Chicago authors, sort of arts educator, literary space was crucial. There was a great Free Street Programs, which is a youth-based theater training, community-based theater training program in Wicker Park in Chicago. I kind of came up there and made my bones there. Bo O'Reilly, Curious Theater Branch, and the Prop Theater Crew
mm,
definitely gave me some initial stages to figure my voice out. The University of Iowa, the O'Neill, the Humana Festival. Actors Theater of Louisville has been a huge. I've worked with
wow.
them for years, repeatedly.
It's
People
so
like,
funny you should talk about the universities because the
yeah,
universities are being kind of strung up right now. Do you know what I mean? By students, by saying, um, where are we? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and so for you to have such a positive experience, you know,
Well, it
um,
was complicated. It was
was it just
complicated, but yeah,
individuals? Are they just
it
individuals
was
in that?
individuals. But it was but
Oh
listen,
God.
but here's the science though, man. And I'll be
Hmm.
honest about this. And I don't mean this harshly or to say that people's opinions or thoughts are incorrect, right? It's not about that. I just come from an era and a generation where you do what you can with what you got, and it's ultimately end of the day, the fairness, equity, justice. These are not things that are innate and natural. They have to be fought for, and you don't get what you deserve. You get what you negotiate, and so you have to go into all spaces with a vision, with a strategy, with a plan. And so, University of Iowa was not perfect, but I met Sidney Mahone there, the great Sidney Mahone, a
Right.
dramaturg, black dramaturg, who and I made it a point to be in constant and consistent conversation with him, be like, oh no, you gonna mentor me. You know what I mean? And asking a lot of my program. It's
Mm.
like if you show up to a program and you're like, expecting it to be perfect, like you're going to get disappointed. You have to go in and say, this is what I need. I need you to do this for me. You know what I'm saying? And so that's how I've navigated all the spaces that I've been in. I've certainly been aware and cognizant of their limitations, their blind spots, their, whatever. But hey, they work for some other people. But I need to recognize I'm not those people. And so it wasn't built for me, but still I got to shake the tree and get the stuff that I need out of this because I'm on
Um,
my journey. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
that's
and I
how
think it
I've
depends.
viewed
I
it.
think you were lucky to have one person in there. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's some
Right.
people that just don't even have that one, and I
Yeah.
think that that's what they're speaking out against. Like, I think it's the fact that
Sure.
actually, like, that there's a lot of. I think don't get me wrong. I think that mindset is definitely key in terms of going, okay, what do I want? What do I want from them? But equally, I think that there was a lot of people that were doing that and still being completely
Yeah.
dismissed
Yeah.
and
You got to make
overlooked.
those
And
right.
there was,
Yeah.
yeah, there was just, I know that's not what you're saying, but I just want to put
No,
it
no,
out
no.
there
But
because there's a lot of
no,
stuff
that's
happening
good.
in the UK that I just want to just make
No, and
sure that
here
it's like,
too. Yeah. No, I want to talk
yeah,
about this. I want to talk about
yeah,
this because I think this is crucial because I think it's both. I think it's about meeting in the
yeah,
middle, right?
definitely.
Like,
Exactly.
never stop making those demands of like,
Yeah.
you guys, I'm in your program and I'm going to push you,
And I'm
right?
paying
Because
for this.
I'm pushing you. But at the same time, it's like, you're not going to get it all. So like, you have to constantly be checking in with yourself about the negotiation, like what will I be willing to accept, because you gotta also, if you're it's also unfair for a lot of students of color and people, of marginalized communities to have to expend so much energy in trying to just get the basics for them to
Exactly.
learn, because at some point you need to also just be able to exhale and just learn like anybody else. And so it's a balancing act, and you got to look out for yourself too, because you don't want to burn out by the time you're 21. Like,
Yeah. That's
So I think
that's
about this
real.
stuff a lot, but I always encourage people to say, like, this is still a work in progress. These spaces were not built for us. There's a
Yeah.
lot of
True.
legacy undoing that we got to do, and it's not all
Yeah.
going to be right. But if you can find three things that are critical, great, lean into them. Because again, like with Sydney, I was like, I'm gonna try to learn everything I can from you. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Right. And
I was, yeah,
maybe that's a part of what we should be doing is finding
yeah,
who those individuals are and
yeah.
actually, creating more visibility of them, the ones that actually exist in those education institutions. We
Hmm.
don't want to bombard them, of course not, but there might be something about sort of resource sharing, you know what I
Yeah,
mean, that can happen,
100%.
that can support those that are in actual like academic institutions that might not necessarily have access, you know, to
Yeah,
somebody of that stature.
yeah. And things
I'm
like
gonna
this,
have to,
platforms like
yeah,
this. I mean,
yeah,
platforms that that yourself and others are pioneering as well, that are accessible, that exist outside
yes,
of or are supplemental to traditional, platforms for learning. I mean, again, it's my whole point. It's like this era is
yeah,
spectacular,
that's
and
real.
now we're like, you know what? While I'm also pushing this institution to get its act together, I'm also going to build something too, and hopefully,
Exactly.
yeah.
and that's the point. I'm gonna have to like come off and come back on again because Instagram has this whole hour thing. Are you cool with coming back in? Are you cool with coming back in and continuing the conversation? Okay, so everybody else, I'm gonna just have to start a new live. So just literally just come back in again and join us for part 2. Just bear with me, I'll be like 1 minute. All right, see you in a little while, Idris.
Peace.
All right.